Hello, hi, how are you doing? This is AD from Silverlight Studio, and I welcome you back to the channel. In today's video, we'll be doing some more coding, or rather, we are going to be starting our C programming slash coding journey today. And a while ago, I made some videos on how to Java, and these videos will be in a similar style. That means I haven't prepared any script, and I want you to think of it as learning with me instead of learning from me, because I'm also learning, and mistakes will happen, but mistakes are a crucial part of learning. So, without further ado, let's begin with the things we actually need to start C programming or coding. I'll just call it coding to start with C coding. So the first thing you need is you need somewhere to write down your code. Now again, like I said in my Java video, you can use anything. You can use the basic notepad, or what I would highly recommend is you need use some specialized software. Let's say it that way. Something like Notepad++, where you can easily differentiate between what is a keyword, like this import, which is in dark blue, which means it's a keyword, and what are just normal code lines like javafx.stage or stage is a normal code line. But I will be using neither of them. For this video, and probably for the next ones too, I'll be using Visual Studio. And the reason is it has an inbuilt terminal, so you can easily just write your code and have it run below. And I find it easy to use, plus it has a lot more features than, let's say, Notepad or Notepad++. So here we are. This is Visual Studio Code. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to be installing the extension, the C and C++ extension for Visual Studio, which allows us to write C code in Visual Studio. So to do that, we need to go ahead and press Control, Shift, and X, which brings up this, or you can just click here, Extensions. This brings up the Extensions menu, and as you can see, I already have C, C++ installed, and this is what you need. So you just press Control, Shift, and X, or you just click on Extensions, which brings up this page, and here you can just type C, or yeah, just type C, and this is the extension you need. So go ahead and install that. So now that we have a place to write our code, the next thing we need is a compiler, or rather we need to set up the coding environment. And how do we do that? Well, since I'm using Visual Studio, I'll give you a quick rundown of how to set things up. So go ahead and open the Visual Studio website and scroll down to C++ and to this subtab says GCC on Windows. So we have already done this step. We have already installed Visual Studio Code. We have already installed the extension, so we can just go ahead and move on to the next part. I would highly recommend you check out this video. It's a pretty short video and pretty well made, if I do say so myself. And if you watch this video, you'll get a pretty good understanding of what needs to be done. And below are the steps what you need to actually do. And you need to download something called MSYS2, which will set up the GCC compiler and which will ultimately set up our C/C++ environment on our Windows machine so that we can start with our C coding. So I'm not going to open this video, but I'm going to click on the direct link to the installer. Oh, it just starts to download, and when this download is finished, you go ahead and you run that program, and it will just go through it. The default settings are what you need. You don't need to really change them. You can change them if you want, but if you're a beginner, I will highly recommend you that you keep things the way they are. So this is the installation window. Just go ahead, click next, choose a directory, and just you can keep it. You can change the directory, but the default settings again are okay as they are. I've already done that, so I am not going to do that. But just go ahead and click next and finish this installation. So when you finish this installation, it will bring up another terminal, and this is your MSYS2 terminal. And inside this MSYS2 terminal, you go ahead and you will copy and paste this command. And what this command does is it sets up the different packages. It basically sets up your machine to be able to do C coding. This is the default settings. You just go ahead and press enter, and that should set up your C environment. Assuming you've done that, the next step would be to add your bin folder to the Windows path environment variable. What is your bin folder? Well, after you have installed this program, you go ahead and you open it up. It is here, MSYS64. Go ahead, open this up. Navigate to the folder called USR. Open that up. And inside this, open up bin. Inside bin, make sure that you have make. This is our make, and what make does is it translates your code into an actual application. It's the command which changes your code to an actual application. So go ahead, install MSYS, navigate to again user or USR, open the bin folder, and make sure that you've got make. And since we do have that, I forgot who it was. Should be somewhere. There it is. Since we do have make, what we want to do is we need to add the path to the make application to our system variables. What are system variables? Well, I will tell you in a minute. So let me go ahead and open my system environment variables. Go ahead, open that. Click on the button box, which says environment variables. And here, inside path, you need to actually add the path to your bin folder. And if you remember, the bin folder is the folder which has the make application inside it. So in our case, that path would be C MSYS64 USR bin, and inside bin is the make file. Again, if you are having any problems installing the compiler, or if you're using any other software, there are plenty of tutorials on YouTube, or you can just Google, and I'm sure it's not that difficult. But there's one thing that I will like to show you. And the thing that I will like to show you is that when you go ahead and open this environment variables and navigate to path, and you click on edit to add the path to your make file, make sure that if you're using another programming language, like in my case, I'm also using Java, that you do not actually edit those. Just go ahead and click on new. You do not need to edit the current path, which points, in my case, to my Java bin. If you do that, then Windows will not be able to find the stuff it needs to run Java. So make sure if you're using another programming language, you let that be, and you just go ahead and click on new, and that should be it. Since I've already done that, this is my path, I've already added it with new, then I do not need to do anything more here. So I'm just going to click on cancel, cancel, cancel. So now you should have your compiler set up, and we have already set up our extension, and we have a place to write our code. The next thing is to actually test if these things are installed. So go ahead, close your command prompt. I have it here, just type exit. Or maybe better to restart your computer, but I'm not sure. But to be sure, just restart your computer and go ahead and open command prompt up again. And how do you check if the compiler is installed? You just go ahead and write gcc version. And here it says GCC 14.2.0. That means GCC is installed, and another thing that we need is the make command. To check if make is installed, we just do the same thing again. We do make version, and there you go. Make is also installed. If you have done it correctly, it should look like this. It's not that difficult. I would just recommend to you that you follow the instructions, and if you have any problems, search on YouTube, search on Google, or you can also just put them down in the comments. I'll try my best to answer each and every one of them. So next step is to actually code. So now that we have everything set up, let's go ahead and open Visual Studio again. When you open it up, it looks something like this. And the first thing you want to do is open the folder where you want to save your C file. So I'll go ahead and click Open Folder, and I'll select the folder name C because that's where I want to keep my C files. So I'll go ahead, click on it, and click Select Folder. So now that we're inside C, we can go ahead and click on New File, and we'll name it hello.c. I think you've already recognized what we're going to actually be doing. We're going to just write a very simple program in C to make sure that our environment works, that our libraries are working, and everything is in order. Just to make sure, we're going to be writing a very simple program known as Hello World, and if it works, that means we have done, or we have installed everything correctly. So we go ahead and create the file in our selected folder, which is C. Go ahead and create file. And what you can also do is in Visual Studio Code, you can just go ahead and open the terminal. The terminal, instead of being on another window, like you would have if you use Notepad++ or Notepad, it's just here. And I find that pretty nice. So now that we have our hello.c file, we want to actually write some code. So we want to write a program which prints out hello world, just like we did in our How to Java series. And this program, as the name says, will just print out hello world. So how do we do that? The first thing is we want to include include. There we go. Include stdio.h. What's this? Well, it's the standard library, or it's not a standard library. It's used for functions like printf or scanf, and to use these functions, we have to include the stdio library. That's the best way to understand it. I'll tell you more once we get to it, but for the purpose of printing out hello world in our terminal, we need to include this library. So the first step is to include the library that contains the functions that we need. And after doing that, we need to write a method like in Java. So we go ahead and we write int main, and below that, we'll open our method, and inside our main method, we're just going to go ahead and write printf. What printf is, printf just prints out whatever you write inside its arguments. And what are our arguments for printf? We're just going to write hello world, and that's it. That's our program. Again, this stdio library, it includes this printf function, which we need to print out hello world. What printf does is it prints out whatever is in its arguments, and its arguments in our case are hello world, so it will just print out hello world. Int main is the main method. Int is the default value, or the default, or the standard, or the normal, but let's say default way to write it. And what int does is it tells us that this method main gives us back an integer. You can also just write it like this, return 0. There we go. And now this method returns 0, which is an integer. That's why it's called int main. Or you can also just leave it, because int main is the default way to do it. So we don't need it because it's default. If you just write main, that's illegal in C. You need to have a return type, even when the program does not return that type. Like in our case, we just print out hello world. We don't actually return an integer, but we still need to have a return type. So go ahead and save that. And we're just going to go ahead and run our program. I'm going to type dir. What dir does is dir just lists all the files in the current directory. We are currently in this folder inside C, inside SOSE25. C is our current position. And when we write dir here, it will list all the files or all the folders which are inside C. So we write dir, and there we go. We have our hello.c. So now that we have our file, we need to actually compile it. How do we compile it? Well, we write make. And that's why it's important to have your make and your compiler set up before you actually begin with coding. So just make sure before you actually come to coding that you have your compiler, your environment, and the make set up. So what do we want to write? Make. And what do we want to make? Well, we just write the name of the file, which in our case is hello without C. So we just write make hello. And it's compiled. If there are any errors, then it will show you, but in our case there are no errors, and that means our program is let's say error-free. So let's go ahead and let's type dir again to see what actually make has done. And here you can see we have hello.exe, hello.exe. What make does is make takes your code and transforms it into an application which we can then run. How do we run that application? You just go ahead and you press / and you write the name of the executable, which in our case is hello without the extension. And there we go. It says hello world. And that's it. That was all I wrote. In the next video, or in the next videos, we'll actually do some C coding. And this was just a basic setup of our C environment, and just a simple program to make sure that everything runs. If you found the video interesting, or at least learned something from it, then don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Till next time.